Checking in, Miss Dooley, checking in.
Yep, test.
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
Checking. I just read that.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Charlottesville City Schools School Board meeting, today being March 5th, 2026. I'm going to call this meeting to order, please. And before we proceed any further, I would like to ask for three separate motions, individual motions for remote participation. First for Ms. Dooley. So if somebody will move that.
So moved.
And I need a second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Meyer. We are going to be doing voice votes moving forward. So all in favor, and if the clerk will please read.
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The second motion I need is for Ms. Richardson, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Thacker?
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
All right. And our third motion, please, for Ms. Bryant.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Thacker?
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. And if you will please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. And now if you will please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Craig Higway, are you going to lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Ms. Thacker, if we could now have roll call of board members, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bryant,
Present.
Ms. Burns,
Present.
Ms. Cooper,
Here.
Ms. Dooley,
Here.
Mr. Meyer,
Here.
Ms. Richardson,
Here.
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
and Ms. Craig Headway.
Here.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. And now calling for a motion for approval of our agenda for this evening, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bryant. All in favor. And again, we'll go by name, please. Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Now we're at 6.0, which is our student and staff recognitions, please. Mr. Jones, welcome.
Good evening.
Try that again. Good evening. I come this evening to honor and give a heartfelt congratulations to Coach Garwin DeBerry on his well-deserved induction into the Virginia High School League Hall of Fame. This prestigious honor recognizes a career defined by excellence, leadership, and unwavering commitment to the students of Charlottesville. Coach DeBerry's legacy in our district is unparalleled. He has a trailblazing career. After beginning his career in 1974, he became the first African-American head coach in the area at a formerly all-white school when he was appointed head football coach in 1980. He's had decades of excellence. For 35 years, he coached the Charlottesville High School football program, achieving 12 playoff appearances and a regional championship. But even more so, he expanded opportunities for all of our kids. Beyond football, he was a pioneer who helped establish and coach the first ever lacrosse program at Charlottesville High School, serving in that role for 7 years. He had dedicated service in our schools. His contributions spanned from many roles, including physical education and driver's education teacher. He was a dean of students, an assistant athletic director, and he also was a VHSL basketball official. But even more so, he had a lasting impact on many, many people. More than his records, Coach DeBerry is celebrated as a father figure and a mentor who used athletics to encourage academic and personal success for generations of young men and women. Many of these young men and women are now leading our current teams in our classrooms and carrying on the work of Coach DeBerry. Coach DeBerry's impact is already permanently etched into our community through the naming of the CHS competition field, the DeBerry Bingler Field, which, by the way, the turf looks amazing for those that haven't been out there. Thank you for that. His induction into the VHS Hall of Fame on April 19th at the Omni Hotel in Charlottesville is a fitting tribute to a man who has given so much to our schools and our city. We wanted to come out tonight and give a congratulations to Coach DeBerry on this historic achievement. And at this time, Coach, I would love for you to come forward to be recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Coach, for everything. We would love to take a picture. Come on up, Coach. Coach Mulford, Coach Minor, if you'd like to come up as well.
Let's go there. Yeah. Great picture.
Thank you. And the next item on our agenda is Ms. Rasnick. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Gurley, members of the board. I'm here to say thank you to our school social workers during National School Social Work Week. We recognize them and thank them for the support that they provide to our students, our families, our staff, and our community. School social workers are needed now more than ever, with the increase in the number of students who are requiring mental health and behavioral support. We're seeing that nearly 1 in 6 children nationally, at ages 2 through 8, have a diagnosed mental, behavioral, or developmental disorder. And school-based social workers are essential in early identification and intervention for those mental health needs. Our social workers are vital members of our school community. And I also want to share the appreciation with Charlottesville City Schools for continuing to support a strong school mental health professional model. So that is all tonight. There's no proclamation from the governor.
Thank you. And definitely, we do continue to support a strong mental health system here within the schools. So thank you to everybody. All right, next we are at 7.0, which is comments from members of the community, and we will start with comments from any students currently present, please. Okay, and then we will move to 7.2, which is our first opportunity for comments from members of the community. Those who may have signed up already, please make your way to the podium. You have 3 minutes. State your name, and we are glad you're here.
Okay, hi, can people hear me? Hi, let me pull up. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Laura Goldblatt, and my son will start kindergarten at Jackson Via in August 2027. I'm here to tell the school board that I want you to hold another vote on having school resource officers in Charlottesville City Schools, and I want you to vote no. Prior to attending graduate school, I taught 11th and 12th grade English at a failing public school in Greenville, Mississippi. At the time, Washington County, where Greenville is located, was the poorest county in the United States. My students bore the brunt of that poverty. Nearly all of them receive free or reduced priced lunch. I can count the exceptions to this rule on a single hand, and most left high school as parents. Some students said they hated school breaks and weekends because they had nothing to eat. And though a small town, Greenville had big city problems. Gangs from Chicago frequently came down to recruit. Violence was both routine and shocking. Once, while classes were changing over, I got caught between 2 fractious students and was struck hard enough to fall to the ground. In May, one of my students killed another one of my students mere hours after they had taken the final exam in my class, and that was just during my first year. Despite all of this, my students were amazing, resilient, brilliant, voracious learners. They were also normal, gossiping with me about someone's poor fashion choices or lamenting a broken heart. What stood out to me most was how high the stakes were for them because they were so pervasively criminalized. To address these issues, the Greenville Public Schools District did what the Charlottesville City Schools are doing. They called in the police. When a student returned from out-of-school suspension, they were escorted by an officer. Students were pulled from my classes for non-court-ordered meetings with police. Classes were periodically locked down to search students' belongings. I assume for drugs, but I was never really told. And you know what? Things got worse, not better. Students who acted out due to desperation or boredom missed even more class, only deepening classroom issues. Small infractions like a uniform violation or cursing escalated quickly, shuttling students into the criminal system and re-traumatizing their peers. The fragile trust between me and the children I taught fractured as my students realized that adults were mostly out to get them. Worst of all, I got even less training and support than I had before. Rather than coaching and classroom management, I was told that discipline was now being handled elsewhere. As a result, my classroom became more rather than less rowdy. I know what it is like to work every day with students who have had their lives cracked open for them and whose actions can disrupt the entire classroom. I also know that that feeling is a reflection of a system that criminalizes problems rather than addressing them. I'm asking the school board to invest in our teachers and staff, more pedagogical resources, more support, more training, more opportunities for innovation, more mental health support, more nutritious foods, more access to physical activity, rather than outsource the crucial services schools provide. I have seen firsthand that such outsourcing leads to a depletion of resources. It doesn't really matter which department pays for policing. They're ultimately all our tax dollars, and I want those dollars to go towards proven strategies that will lead students to thrive.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Ian Mullins. I have one child in the Charlottesville City Schools. She's at Jackson Via, fourth grader, will be part of the first fifth grade class. Before I address the board, I want to first speak to the Charlottesville Education Association members in the audience. As a fellow educator and as a member of United Campus Workers, I stand with you in solidarity. Thank you for the work you do. For the school board, I'm here because I want to build on what Laura just said. I do not want SROs or ICE in our city schools. I want you to bring this back for a vote, and I want you to vote no. So I was new to Charlottesville in fall 2019. I wasn't here when Unite the Right happened, but I remember watching online and I was horrified. No one can imagine that happening in their town. And for those of you that were here, you have my empathy, my deepest condolences to live through that. I know people who fought off neo-Nazis to protect students. Nothing like that should ever happen, but it did. I'm also horrified by the videos that I've seen recently coming out of Minneapolis. ICE enforcement that breaks all laws is accountable to no one. US citizens executed in streets. No one can see that coming until it happens. No one thinks these things are going to happen. I stood here last year and I told you I didn't want SROs in schools because one of my main concerns is that they would be used for immigration enforcement. I still feel that way. The escalation of enforcement tactics have become terrifying. And we need to take very seriously the prospect that officers in these schools could be used to those ends. No one thinks it's going to happen. No one thinks a fourth grader is going to be taken out of school in handcuffs until it happens, and it has happened recently in this area. No one thinks it's going to happen. No one thought that ICE agents would execute US citizens in Minneapolis. But when I watched those videos, I didn't just see something that terrorized me. I saw city streets that I recognized. I saw apartment buildings that I had been inside. That was my city. That was my neighborhood. People were executed on streets that I have walked 100 times. And I never would have thought it could have happened, but it did. Bringing SROs into our schools makes us vulnerable. I know you think it increases safety. I want care for students. I want safety for students, not policing. I want resources spent to mental health care, to providing more meals. We could have incredibly excellent schools. We already give students 2 meals a day. We give them a safe place to be. We turn them into warming shelters in the winter. That is excellent. We can be even more excellent. We can embrace students, try to correct and help them in the circumstances they're in, and make it so everyone can succeed, not just sacrifice some of the most vulnerable because we want to improve some statistics. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you listening.
Hi, my name is Laura Imony. I'm a Charlottesville city resident and have 2 kids who were previously at Jackson Via. I would also like to urge you to not put school resource officers into our schools. And I want to tell you about a story from 2 years ago. I got a phone call from Jackson Via that my then second grader had been interviewed by police. The phone call was to tell me that no threat had been determined. My son, who has a 504 at the time and documented disability, was not having a good day. And he told he told an adult in private, I was so mad I could have killed someone. So instead of calling me or getting a counselor, they called the police to interview him. They determined there was no threat. He was scared. He told me later, I was scared. He told me last week, I hid under the table whenever anyone came in the room to talk to me. Putting police in our school that day to talk to my 7-year-old didn't make him more safe, and it didn't make any of his classmates more safe. In addition to not adding school resource officers back to schools, we do need to go ahead and finalize the MOU. When I talked to people after this incident, no one really knew what the criteria was for when a threat assessment needed to be made. No one really knew if you called the parents first or if you called them after. And I see that in some situations, maybe you would need to call the police first, but with a 7-year-old, I think that we could have called, that we could have been notified first. We could have been there for him. So that's all I have to say today. I hope that we can find some solutions to make our kids more safe that aren't putting school resource officers back in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, members of the board and Dr. Gurley. My name is Alex Heinzman, parent of 2 kids in Charlottesville City Schools. I've been coming here and speaking about SROs, against SROs, for about 2 years now. If there's one thing being a parent teaches you, is that sometimes you have to repeat yourself to be heard. I brought you research showing the documented measurable negative effects of police in schools. I've read you recent, local, relevant news stories. Actually, did you know a Greene County SRO who is a former CPD officer was just fired for an inappropriate relationship with a student? I can send you links. You know, I've got links. And I have stood here for 2 years and listened to CSAs, staff, teachers, legal experts, and worried parents ask you to find better solutions. And what I have learned over these 2 years is what your priorities really are. The kids are brave enough to walk out to protest ICE. And you are not brave enough to put a single line in the MOU saying police can't collaborate with ICE. You are telling your own staff you just can't figure out how to give them the raises you promised, but you're asking the city to spend $800,000 on 2 cops. Our achievement gap is far below the state average. We are failing our low-income kids, our Black kids, our kids with disabilities, and instead of prioritizing them, you have chosen to police them. And not once in these 2 years has the community had a real voice in this process. You pull a surprise vote with an absent board member without a plan or a budget. You draft an MOU without a single teacher, parent, or student's involvement. And eventually, long after this decision is made, you hold listening sessions where nobody even bothers to take notes. I know, I was there. So the only way we could make our voices heard was at the ballot box in November. 2 out of the 3 people we elected to this board were outspoken against SROs. I am asking the board to reflect the will of their community. I am asking you to be brave and creative and to imagine a better future for our kids. I am asking you to bring this issue back to a vote and vote no on SROs.
Hi, I'm Jen Horn. Topic switch. I offered to go to the back of the line, but we're just going to take a little parenthetical. In Charlottesville City Schools, are we here to educate children or to manage numerical outcomes? I live for the former. I am dedicating my life to the former, but more and more, I'm coming to think that it's the latter. Why? Because teaching professionals are being marginalized and disrespected, and decisions are being made using data that marginalizes and disrespects our students. 77% of CCS teachers have a master's degree or higher. The average teaching experience is 12.5 years, and yet, in the past few years, the assumption of and respect for teacher centrality in the education of our students has waned. Teacher voice is no longer needed in making assessment decisions, curriculum creation, book selection, grading processes, and budgetary directives. Our agency in almost every area of our job is being chipped away to a point where, in conversation with 2 fantastic teachers who have been fantastic for over 20 years, one said that they would never, ever recommend our profession to a college student, while the other said that they were being micromanaged out of the school that they love dearly. This stinks for our teaching professionals, but it stinks worse for our students. The more distance that you put between those making the decisions about learning and those sitting in the desks, the more ineffectual that learning will be. The real data the data that matters and that will close our learning gaps and will make students want to come to school and will never, ever come through a standardized test to be made into a spreadsheet in an office far from the classroom looks like this. It looks like personalities. It looks like names. It looks like stories. It looks like how many times did a student contribute to a discussion unprompted? It looks like students collaborating to come up with ideas. It looks like students feeling safe to challenge teachers, to challenge material, to challenge themselves. Who is measuring that data if not the teacher? Who is asking the teacher about that data? No one. The school division will continue to bleed great teachers and, even more importantly, fail students if it continues to prescribe rather than respond to the voices in the classroom. I know that I need to leave and I will not get a response here tonight, but I would love it if this board and this division begin to reach out to its teachers. Send out some Google Forms, create a panel, have some restorative circles. TTYT, talk to your teachers. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Gurley, Ms. Bynum, Chair and School Board. I'm Peter Davis. Probably not too much of a topic switch from what Jen just shared, but as an urban farming teacher here, spring is a very busy time, and I would love to be talking about the baby chicks that are coming next week and the 4th or 3rd grade visit school field trips that are coming up, and plant sale coming up in May. And I have to say, I love my job from 9 to 4 when I'm with my students. I've got a dream job in a lot of ways that the school division has helped me form and shape. And I'm so appreciative of that support. But I kind of need to talk about the end to what I feel like has been like a 3-year personal project experiment that I've been conducting. I've attended almost every school board meeting for the last 3 years. I've spoken at a lot of them. I've come early, I've stayed late trying to catch side conversations with people. I've stepped up to become a building rep for the CEA. I served on school-wide committees. I served on the division level equitable grading committee and subcommittees last year. I've come to every department meeting, faculty meeting, ready to talk and discuss and ready to work. And I was really hoping that this deep dive would really make me feel like everything that I was doing was going to lead towards making big changes. And I don't really feel like it's been happening. It hasn't been a great use of time, I'm fearing. In recent years, teachers have advocated and we've made improvements in school safety, substitute teachers, pay scales, collective bargaining. We've added needed positions at the high school. But every turn, I feel like we've had to organize, we've had to plead, argue, yell to make our voice heard, and it's exhausting. And I feel like what Jen was saying, people come to me all the time feeling that they are burned out and micromanaged. They feel boxed in. And we have hundreds of educated, talented, passionate teachers in our division. But all the curriculum, all the professional development, all the grading decisions are made by administrators and coordinators and staff members and board members who, most of which haven't taught in 5, 10, 15 years or more, if even ever. And like Jen was saying, we don't feel really like we have a voice in any of the things that are happening. Our division rewards good teachers by plucking them out of the classroom to make them, instructional coaches and administrators, but there's no incentivizing to keep them in the classroom to keep doing a good job for the students. And the system has really taken the joy, love, and passion and lived experience, creativity, the very soul out of teaching, so that we can become data mining people to send data down to the basement so they can make spreadsheets to go across the bridge, so they can make more spreadsheets to go to the administration that writes the checks and gives accreditation. And it's just, I don't know, we're all just kind of feeling not really a part of it. And so if I feel that way, I can only imagine how other people who are just trying to get into being involved would feel. And so I just hope that you all be the ones to make that system change. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Little, and I'm the parent of 2 CHS students. Thank you so much for your service and for listening. I'm going to go back to the SRO topic and have 2 points. One is keep being curious, and the second is try softer. And so the first point about being curious, I've had to look in a few different places, but some of the safety measures that perhaps were the reason for starting this discussion have shifted a bit, and referrals to law enforcement are down. Survey data from students participating in restorative practices are showing impact. And so I'm just asking you to keep being curious and listening, because if we're not clear about the indicators we're looking at, how do we know when to course correct, or maybe not even start this program of bringing SROs back into school? So I'm really encouraging you to be curious about the data. The second piece is, let's try softer. I'm probably going to cry here, but the world is literally on fire right now. And I can't accept that more guns in our schools, more surveillance is the answer. I want to see investment in human relationships, practices that humanize our students, that we're tackling absenteeism, that we're making sure that they can read. And I'm going to close with a quote by, oh my God, the poet Andrea Gibson. I know most people try hard to do good and find out too late they should have tried softer. Try softer. Thank you.
That's tough to follow. Hello, my name is Lena Seville. I am a member of the Charlottesville community. I was appointed by City Council to the Disproportionate Minority Contact in the Juvenile Justice System Task Force, which is a long way of saying we looked at how different kids were treated by the juvenile justice system based on the color of their skin. And we were lucky to have a couple of students, masters and PhD students, who are able to look at confidential information and bring it back to us in non-identifiable terms so that we could see patterns. And we saw patterns. Black and brown kids were treated more harshly by the juvenile justice system, significantly, even when we controlled for other factors. And even if you wanted to say implicit bias, which is accidental or unconscious racism, having police officers in schools will negatively affect our more vulnerable students. And that's the accidental racism. I think we all know there's some that isn't accidental. And this police officer policy is going to have a harmful effect. And if you don't look at how racism plays into it and how it negatively affects some communities, you're not helping anybody. We can't pretend that it doesn't exist. And we need to be like really serious about this when we talk about doing something like bringing the police into schools. So I ask you to look at the numbers, look at the data, and redo the vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mimi McNergney, a parent, a Charlottesville City School grad, a former educator, and a lifelong learner. Probably as many folks are doing these days, I've been riding the roller coaster of great hope and deep despair and nihilism some days. A few moments of despair have arisen when reading reports of our sustained achievement gaps, schools that are way off track, and city budget meetings with talks of the missing middle, where teachers, firefighters, and transportation workers have to scrabble over the little that's left over. But two cops that we don't even want will split $800,000. Also more in headlines about a child in Virginia whose SRO called DHS and removed the child first from foster care in order to be deported. These failings are systemic, or maybe they're actually working just the way the system intended. They are not, in fact, failings. I have had some great moments of hope too. Reading about the Charlottesville Early Childhood Learning Center was really exciting this morning. And hearing some murmurings about community school models and connecting with more and more people doing courageous work in Charlottesville, and also seeing student-led walkouts against the presence of ICE and the possibility of them being in our schools, showing up. on our schools, whether they are invited or not. You have the opportunity to buck the systems that continue to hold our neighbors down. There was a random Thursday in March or April last year when the board got tired of talking about the possibility of bringing cops back into schools and decided to bring the issue up to a vote without it actually being on the agenda. It's another Thursday in March in which the issues of SROs are not officially on the agenda. Since the vote last year, a school board election has occurred. One of the no candidates was voted back in, and another clear opponent was also voted in. I'm asking you to bring up the plan to return cops to our schools. I would like for you to bring it back up to a vote and to vote no. We know that the board and administrators' positions has been cops are already in schools. This is being done to relieve the administrative burden. If this is a must and you will not revote, at the very least, get courageous and get creative to eliminate unnecessary contact with cops. It will not make our kids safer, and it will not make our community better.
Good evening. My name is Michael Salvatierra. I have been a teacher at Trailblazer for 17 years. I have 2 kids in the city schools, and I'm the vice president of the CEA. There's a lot going on tonight. I'm so happy for the things we are celebrating. I'm so happy to celebrate our ESP contract. That is amazing. It is historic. They deserve, for any that were here listening, they deserve every bit of it and far more. They do such incredible work taking care of our kids, and they should be paid enough to live on. And yet the ESPs that I've talked to in our building and beyond have voiced a little bit of a sour taste as well, in part because of the way that it all went down. And not just because of, in part because of this, some of the sticking point was over a few holidays that are to be paid, which I understand that there's things that in negotiations, but to do that off the backs of the people who are already the lowest paid, while spending money on SROs seems really off and not with our priorities of equity in our division. But also in my mind is the fact that there has been no collective acknowledgement of the harm that was done with the February 6th email that went out to all of our staff and all of our community. This was very public, so it requires a very public response. No acknowledgement of the things that were untrue in it, no acknowledgement of what it did to staff morale, the breaking of trust that happened with that email. You have listened to the testimonies of employees, of the people you depend on, who talked about what a gut punch it was, how it landed, and people who they knew that it was misrepresented. They knew from the very beginning, and yet there's been no response. You want to restore trust, you have to begin the repair. There needs to be a public acknowledgement of what happened. I've talked to a couple of people. There's at least one person has spoken publicly, but this was a public email. It needs to be a public response to our whole community. Speaking of trust, when that also relates to the breaking of trust with SROs in our schools, because as you've heard several times tonight, that was a real breach of trust in pushing that through underhandedly when you said it wouldn't be addressed, and then holding feedback sessions. And I've talked to so many people in different communities who have definitely noted that those felt really disingenuous because the decision was already made. What can we do? But they gave their feedback. They still came and gave their feedback. And did you hear it? You need to listen to the community and revisit the question of SROs. The community, as people have said, also spoke with the school board election. That was a way of speaking what our priorities are as a community. So please listen to that. The teachers, our community, we want to trust you. We want to work with you because we care about our students. But you have to have the courage to accept when there's a mistake or mistakes that have been made and start to work to repair those. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alice Dontonville. I'm a parent in the Charlottesville City Schools. And Alice Dontonville, parent in the Charlottesville City Schools. I have a 10th grader at CHS and I have a 2nd grader at Jackson Via. I am here to add my voice to the group of people who are disturbed by the idea of SROs going back in the schools. I'm old enough to remember when there were SROs in our elementary schools, when my 10th grader was in second grade, and I was not impressed. I'll be brief. I'm concerned about all of the things you've heard already. I'm concerned about safety. I don't think SROs in the schools will make us safer. I'm not personally going to feel safer about my children's safety. I'm concerned about equity. I'm concerned about keeping ICE enforcement out of our schools. It's a big one. I think it's not been adequately addressed. And I know you're solving for problems, but I just think that there's got to be a better solution than putting armed officers in the schools. There's got to be a better way to work with the police department to meet our goals. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick Steiner, a parent of two. And before I give my speech, when I read that letter to the teachers and the staff, my two words that came to mind were petty and spiteful. And I'm really disappointed in the board for sending that letter. And I think you should make a public apology to, because apparently you send that to students. You send that to parents, you sent that to staff. It's unacceptable. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go on. I'm here to request that you vote to end the harmful SRO program. It is insane that in a district known for its persistent achievement gap, that we're putting in a program that will make that gap worse. If you look at our school's policy manual, two of the school's fundamental commitments are equity and anti-racism. Yet when it comes to making safety policy, that goes right out the window. It's the same with our slogan, better together. Those are just words to you guys. You purposely chose not to seek input from the community. You voted in March of 2024, and I believe it was Ms. Burns said, we have to get outreach and we need recommendation. You guys came back a year later and you talked to nobody. Unacceptable. And all of this because of why? You can't even articulate a good reason to bring SROs back. You lack the transparency to talk openly about the safety problems at school. And it is clear that this administration was never committed and never wanted SROs to leave in the first place. You just waited a couple years and then tried to get the vote back up again. And you did it. If you actually wanted to fix those problems, the reason you got them out was because the data didn't support it. The data still does not support it. But if you wanted to fix those problems, you'd be transparent, you'd be data-driven, you'd be collaborative with parents, teachers, students, the people who send our kids here, and you would not give up. You would not give up. But SROs are coming back because the school is actually fine with the status quo. That's my conclusion. Right now in our academics, we're failing our Black students, our special needs students, our low-income students, our English language learners, but this is the policy you focus on. It would be too much work to be creative and collaborative, so you chose the easy way and let the cops deal with it. And it's not even a cheap solution. It's an expensive solution, but it's easy for you. The fact is, our students have to pay for the failures of the adults up here. You failed to imagine a better future, and you are content with the iniquity of today, and it's an absolute shame.
We will have another opportunity towards the end of the meeting. I think we have one registered person online who would like to speak.
Yes, I will promote Ann Walker to our panelist stage, just needs to unmute, and you can take it from there for the 3 minutes. Just let us know, say something so we know that we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Nakaya Walker here, to discuss the SROs, as you all have heard from me many a times. I just read online where the House voted down to restrict our current president on war powers. And one of the things they said was that Iran is an imminent threat. It's the same mindset that creates the police state. And it's the same mindset at this level that you all are using to bring cops back into the school that will primarily police Black children. Imagine St. Anne's coming up with a plan for its parents that they're primarily white, upper income school, that they were going to put cops in their school to roam their hallways and classroom. It would never work. Your teachers just had to fight, and I have comments about that, for the pay increase and for the support staff. There's not enough money. Already they believe that this is a win, and they deserve to be paid more, and I've always supported it. But taxes will increase. The city is proposing a 2% tax increase. Housing is already being denied. Housing at Friendship Court is being reduced by 40 to 90 units. That means, just those two examples means that your teachers and staff will pay more. So while you are considering or have voted on implementing SROs to come back in the school that we successfully removed for all the reasons that were just stated, you all are willing to spend money to create a police state within CCS. You call yourself revolutionary leaders. This is not revolutionary. It's a return to the norm. Someone in this country, some school division will have to be the division that steps forward, that creates the model. And right now you are saying that it's also not you. Are our kids not worth it? And I'm going to keep asking. I have a niece that's in the 11th grade. I have a nephew that will attend the Early Childhood Learning Center. My 3 kids went through CCS. I went through CCS. I'm committed to this community, and you all say you are, and this is not the way. Our kids deserve better than this. And if for no other reason, you need the money to go other places. The city needs the money to go other places. If you are committed to this poor decision of bringing SROs back to the system, have them outside of the buildings. If there's an emergency that warrants them coming into the buildings, they will be near the school division. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody who took your time out tonight to make comment. We appreciate you all. We are now moving on to 8.0, which is our student representative report. So Ms. Craig Headway, thank you.
Good evening. As we wrap up the third quarter here at CHS, I'd like to thank all the teachers, staff, and administrators across all Charlottesville City schools for their hard work this quarter, especially through the snow week. I'd once again also like to call attention to an issue that is often mentioned to me to bring to the board's attention, which is the issue of accessing grades. As students, the only place we can see our grades is PowerSchool, but often the platform is not correctly updated to our current grades, and it is therefore difficult to know where we stand academically at the end of each grading period. I do hope that both the board and the CHS administration will take this into consideration for next year's policies. I'd also like to extend a congratulations to all of CHS's winter sport athletes for a great season where we saw great skill, teamwork, and commitment. Big thanks to all the athletes, the coaches, and everyone who makes sports at CHS possible, because it helps build a strong CHS community. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to share with the board, Ms. Craig Headway had shared this concern with me earlier, as I often meet with her and converse prior to our meetings, and just really wanted to lean into Dr. Gurley and his team and say, we've heard this a couple times. We really need to have a better understanding of why we keep hearing this and just address it. So I think Dr. Isley was poised to give somewhat of a response conversation to our students to understand.
Yeah, thank you so much for your thoughts or your feedback on the grade visibility and the frequency of the updates. I think we know how important that is for students and our families to be able to track your academic progress. So we certainly appreciate any concerns related to that being brought to our attention. I think we could better understand, I just want to make sure I'm clear on, is the concern around grades being updated in a timely manner generally, or just the period at the end of the quarter when we can't see you can't see the final grade? or both?
It's both.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right. Yeah, so thank you for that. I think, we certainly expect grades and feedback to be timely to students. So if you are not seeing those updates after assignments have been due within a couple weeks, you definitely please let your administrators know so that they can do an audit of that, because we know feedback should be timely, and that is the expectation here. As far as at the end of the quarter, we do have a period at the very end of the quarter where the final grade is not, that feature is turned off as teachers are finalizing the grades and the administrators are reviewing them. Our student information administrator is storing things, that type of thing that needs to happen at the end of the quarter. We do understand, though, and we hear you, that this is causing some stress around that time. You can still see, as you know, your individual assignments and the scores on those, and including any new ones that might come in during that period. But we hear that concern. We are exploring ways to both make sure we can process things at the end and address that transition period. So thank you so much for sharing that. We do know that we wanted to have we still support a one place for having the grade, so that that's consistent. We know we've had lots of parents join the parent portal to be able to see grades, so we do feel like that's effective. But moving forward too, if there's continued feedback on it, please feel free to email me and Dr. Malone, so that as we make decisions moving forward or have conversations around grades, we'll be able to have that direct student input too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I wonder, Ginger, I think if there's specific example or more direction help between Dr. Malone and Dr. Isley, please arrange that so that you all can see in real time maybe what students are seeing. And that way we can really try to tackle this issue. I think we want to get this up to speed for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would entertain, please, a motion for adoption of our consent agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Burns, I need a second by Ms. Cooper. Ms. Thacker, if you will.
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are moving, nothing has been pulled from the agenda, and we're moving to 11.0, which is our action item. And so we have Ms. Lewis.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gurley. On February 19th, the announcement of the ratification of the Support Professionals Unit happened, and at that time, we shared the collective bargaining agreement for your review. Tonight, I ask for action on this.
So we'd like a motion on that,
Yes.
please.
Sure. I move that we approve the School Support Professionals Collective Bargaining Agreement negotiated with Charlottesville Education Association as provided to us by Superintendent and ratified by CEA, and authorize the chair to sign it on our behalf.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, and a vote, please.
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Do you want discussion?
So is there discussion or?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Chair.
That's
were
fine.
excited.
Yeah, I know. I was ready to let's sign this thing. Yes, open this up for discussion or comment. I'm going to start with anybody online, any of our school board members virtually. Do you have any comments, discussion?
No comment for me.
Ms. Dooley?
Nope, just excited to have this resolution before us.
All right. Ms. Bryant?
Yeah, I'm also excited. Thank you so much.
All right. Ms. Craig Headway, any comments from you? Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, no, I'm
glad we got to this point. I think it is important that we compensate the kids and the staff that work with all our students in day to day and make our schools work. I think about what's happening at the state level right now, and we'll see. We're going to agree to this, and then potentially it's all going to change because the state's going to, again, centralize the union making decision making process. I don't know if our union colleagues are aware of that or not, but that's going to be a little frustrating if that happens, that we put all this work in. I want to thank the staff and the union leadership and everybody who is part of the negotiation process. That is not an easy process. I know I think the union leadership, it is additional to what your daily jobs are. I want to say, I think we got some really bad legal advice personally when that email went out. That led to a communication that, at least I personally, speaking for myself here, was not productive, definitely, not constructive. And in retrospect, I think I would have written it differently or probably picked up the phone. I think some of you got phone calls from me. So all that said is, I'm glad that we reached this point. I know it was difficult. I think I would have hoped it would have gone smoother. And I hope that we can build off of this, but also imagine maybe a different system for negotiating. And I think this goes to what I heard some comments from some teachers earlier too, where we put a lot of systems in place to get things, but that also make it really hard to, I think, do things. If that makes sense. So thank you for everybody. I appreciate, again, everybody's efforts to get here. I think everybody was acting in good faith, and I hope everybody has learned from this, and I think I have, and that I look forward to, again, implementing this and seeing our staff be compensated more. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I am also glad we made it here and we're able to move forward and compensate what I think everyone agrees are the backbones of our school district and the hard work that they do every day, and just acknowledging that. I'm hopeful that at the state level, we have some stability and that we can work together, forging a new path depending on what that agreement looks like and how this may impact our future. And do want to do the work to restore those relationships. And I continue to be in buildings. I continue to be in front of children. I continue to meet with teachers, and I'll continue to do that. I think my board colleagues will also do the same. And I think just hoping to foster that relationship building and hopefully restore those relationships and get back to a strong working position. Thank you. Yeah.
Ms. Cooper.
I'm just excited that we are finally to the point where we're able to sign, and, just want to put it out there that I have always supported our support staff. I think that our support staff does an amazing job in our school system. And so I'm just grateful that we are able to get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. And I as well have been pardon me? I think I asked them, didn't I? Yeah. A proponent and have wanted this to happen. So I'm looking forward to stepping up to the podium. And Ms. Gillikin, would you like to join me and we can sign this together? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a vote, right?
Let's vote real quick. Sorry. I know. I was trying. I've been trying.
Not so fast, Ms. Gill.
I'm gonna start with Ms. Burns this time. Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant,
Yes.
Ms. Dooley,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
and Ms. Torres.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Here we go.
Thank you.
You.
All right, that's a big yay. And we are moving on to 12.0, which is our items for discussion. The first one is 12.1, which is our 2026, 2027 career and technical education local plan with Dr. Heltz.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Gurley. Thank you. This evening, I'm here to present to you the Carl Perkins Local Plan for the 26-27 school year, which is a federal grant used to help fund our career and technical education programs at Charlottesville Middle School, Charlottesville High School, and at K-Tech. Before I present to you our budget and our goals for spending, I just want to give you a brief overview of our programming. So the modernized career clusters framework consists of 14 clusters, over 30 career pathways, 72 subclusters that serve as the primary organizing structure for our CTE programs. This framework is designed to serve as a bridge between education and work and is the building block for high-quality CTE programs. Our CTE programming in Charlottesville City Schools currently offers courses in 9 career clusters. Within these clusters, we provide opportunities for students to explore a multitude of career pathways. Here you can see the CTE enrollment from the past 4 years. You will notice an increase in the enrollment in CTE during the 24-25 school year, which is mostly due to the recoding of the state-required career investigations course at the middle school. As you may recall, we added a few new CTE courses this year at CHS, which have helped increase our enrollment. In the program of studies for next year, we have once again added new courses, so we hope that we will continue to increase our enrollment. As previously mentioned, we do offer approximately 20 and different industry credentials at CHS and K-Tech, the most common of which is the Workplace Readiness Assessment, which assesses students on the core competencies embedded in all CTE courses and curricula. In the 2024-2025 school year, 137 students earned the Workplace Readiness Credential. In total, 382 industry credentials were earned, with 344 students having earned more than one credential. This is great for job acquisition and marketability, as students can use these certifications to show they have understanding of soft skills and/or the technical skills needed in the workforce. I do want to point out one thing at the bottom regarding the WISE exam, which is the exam that students take who are enrolled in the Econ and Personal Finance class. That exam is not on the proposed state board list of approved industry credentials for the next school year. That means if that holds true and WISE is removed as an industry credential, we should expect to see a significant drop in the number of industry credentials. For perspective, last year there were approximately 190 students who passed the WISE exam, which is similar to previous years. So the State Board of Education is updating the credential list to better align with the credentials that are vetted by industry, including the relevance of the credential and alignment to industry standards and labor market needs. Now we shift to looking at the goals that were set for this current school year. These goals are also reflected in our local plan. This year, once again, we did expand opportunities for students by adding courses to our program of studies, such as the start of the health and medical sciences pathway. There's also been work at Charlottesville Middle to expand career investigations, which again is a state required course, by exposing students to different industries and career pathways. As we shift to our goals for next year, which also help determine our spending of Perkins funds. We, again, are continuing to provide more CTE opportunities for our students. Again, for the 26-27 school year, this board approved new courses that will expand our agriculture, health and medical sciences, marketing, and technology pathways. Next, we need to continue to expand our career and technical student organizations. These are required co-curricular organizations that offer students leadership experiences as they participate in competitions and other organization projects. Our third goal is to continue our work with our business and industry partners to find high-quality work-based learning opportunities that are directly aligned with our CTE courses. Part of this work involves continuing career exploration and awareness opportunities such as K-Tech tours, collaboration with our elementary schools for projects, trips to local business and industry sites, career fairs, and the list goes on. And lastly, one of the required uses of Perkins funds relates to the recruitment and retention of qualified CTE educators through professional learning opportunities. Each of these goals will lead us on the path of continuing to establish high-quality career and technical education programs. The estimated allocation for the 2026-2027 Perkins Plan is $109,556.73. This number will go up or down depending on set allocations, which will be determined and shared by the Virginia Department of Education, usually in June or July. With the allocation, we will continue to prioritize spending to ensure that our students have access to equipment that meets industry standards, and our staff have opportunities for professional learning, and that we continue to provide career exploration and awareness opportunities for our students. And lastly, that we do continue to develop sustainable business and industry partner relationships. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Again, I'm going to start with our board members who are remote. If any of you have any comments or questions, let's start with Ms. Dooley.
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bryant.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for this presentation.
You're welcome.
Ms. Richardson.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for your presentation. And I see how these programs give our students hands-on skills, which I love. And I see how building the relationships with the local businesses can help prepare them for the real world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper.
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Burns.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Meyer. Ms. Craighead. I just had a quick question about the student organizations,
Mhm.
like what that looks like or
So-
what you're thinking of.
So those are like TSA, which is AKA Bacon, the tech, and then there's HOSA, which is for our health occupations. There's Skills USA, which is a lot of our skilled trades, including cosmetology, building trades. They're required, however, they're not typically funded. So a lot of the clubs, they fundraise, and we do send them to some competitions. Ms. Wilson takes her students to, and we at K-Tech take some of our students to the state fair in the fall to compete, and we participate in local competitions and regional competitions with other school divisions and schools. So it gets them to showcase, and they get judged, and they get awards for their performance.
Great, thank you. I mean, I see a lot of great social media
Mhm.
from K-Tech, so
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
if there's ever anything, I think
Mhm.
around those organizations that you feel like we can support, please let
Well,
us know.
yeah, I do. I mean, I will never turn down that opportunity because again, they're typically not funded, but they are required for CT programs. So, sometimes we can typically cover local competitions, but sometimes when we get to the, if they went to regionals or states, we can't really use funds. We actually can't use most of our Perkins funds to support any of those things. So, we will let you know if we get to that point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
You're
presentation.
welcome.
All right, and next up, we have Mr. Como and Ms. Smalchik.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gurley. You have to excuse my voice. It's a little bit groggy. But we come here tonight to give you an overview of some upcoming changes with the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's an accessibility compliance requirement for school districts. This is going to be a pretty big change for school divisions. This process has already started for CCS. And just to be clear, this process for us, we don't run out of runway until 13 months from now in April of 2027. So tonight is more of an informational, what we've done, what we're going to do, and where we're going. So we'll present what these changes look like, and I'll start and pass it on to Amanda in just a few minutes. And as with most things, we like to align this to our strategic plan. And it does not bear reading on the screen, but if you do want to look, we do like to make sure that all of our public and our students can have clean, accessible access to digital program. And that includes our public-facing website, our student content that they would access on sites like Canvas and PowerSchool, articles that we may publish, and other digital content, including this live feed. And the ADA has passed legislation, just gives us guidance on how we can best address those standards. So, yes. Perfect. Yeah, that's fine. The importance of accessibility cannot be overstated. Okay, sorry. So in short, we have to adopt these new standards. And if we are not in compliant with them, then we can face fines and fees. But the bigger reason we want to do this is that we want all of our entities to be able to access this digital content easily and under the new standard. And obviously the importance of accessibility is, it is the why, right? It's crucial for ensuring equal access for students with disabilities. Improving accessibility helps with this child's educational experience. And again, for that public facing group who want to collaborate and initiate and work with our schools and our teachers and our staff. Now, some things that need to happen moving forward is that we do need to start remediating some of these electronic documents. A couple of the big changes will be the way that we tag PDFs and machine readable text. To put that in very simple terms, one clear example of a tagged PDF would be in some reading programs, if you had a 3-column PDF news article, some of them, if they were not tagged properly, someone who could not see, who would use the keyboard to initiate a read aloud, it might read the first line of column 1, the first line of column 2, and the first line of column 3. That would be a bad example of what we don't want to do. And so what the law basically tells us to do is that when you tag these PDFs appropriately, then the reader for that student or that public-facing person will read all of column 1, all of column 2, and all of column 3 as it is meant to be heard by that user. The other big example is machine readable text. That means that a bad example of that is a signed contract. We sign a contract, then we scan it into the website, and then our website and readers do not have the ability to read the individual text or sentences in that particular type of scan. So we'll be changing the way that we upload those documents so that they can use what's known as OCR, which is a way that it can convert those images to a readable text. Those are just two of the examples of the kinds of things that we have started doing and that we will be doing while we get closer to our finish line, again, in 13 months from now. I would talk just briefly about media accessibility updates. Again, for an event like this, where we're live and we're live streaming, we just want to make sure that our audience has text below, text to speech, so they can see exactly what we're saying for people that have special needs and fall under the ADA. And it's just so that these enhancements basically ensure again, that our public, that our audience, that our students can engage fully in the content that we're putting out there for them to see. One of the other things that we need to do moving forward is as we engage new vendors for new services, we need to make sure that they are compliant to these new standards. We're also going to need to go back to all of our current and existing vendors and make sure that their content, which we utilize, will meet these standards, and we'll need to work with them to make sure that they're in compliance. And off the top of my head, I already know a majority of the big vendors that we work with are compliant, but it's our goal in these next 13 months to just get that number to 100% or make the changes that we need to ensure that we are compliant with this. And again, just for the benefit of all end users who need to access information from our school system. Now, there are exceptions to the workload. It's in short, if it's archived, we're okay for the past. If there's pre-existing documents that don't require any fixes, our goal is to fix and get as much as we can facing forward that is up to date. But essentially, anything that's active on our website, anything that's active for our students, that our teachers make, that our website design team makes, all of that will fall under this ADA requirement. And so it's a big lift, but as we work towards it, we want to make sure that everything we are touching meets those requirements and is accessible. And as I've said, tonight is very informational. There are a number of school divisions who have more than 50,000 students where that deadline is coming up next month. And so our runway again is to move towards completion by April 24th, 2027, as we are qualified as a small district, less than 50,000 students. And with that, I will step aside. Yes.
Okay, so now I'll just be going over what have we already started doing and what do we still need to do. So just an overview for all districts, what needs to happen is to adopt the new ADA standard. Obviously, we need to fix things that are not already in compliance that will continue to be active on our public facing channels. We need to consider video and audio and how we address that. As Pat mentioned, we need to ensure our vendors are in compliance, and we gotta get this done by next April, but that's why we're here. So the good news is that we have made some decisions over the past couple of years that will make this significantly less onerous for the division. The first one of those is the adoption of Parent Square, which is obviously our all division communication tool. And Parent Square has built-in accessibility features. Really, as with a lot of the tools, the area where where we need to work is at the individual user level, not creating images or videos that are not compliant or that are not accessible to folks. And so you'll see a little bit later in this presentation, we have plans for staff education on that front. But in its basic format, Parent Square is very much already built in with accessibility features. And as you can imagine, accessibility features are also pretty tightly woven in with good translation features, which Parent Square has. As you may already know, Parent Square, when families opt in to receive messages in their preferred language, they receive the message already in their language, and then when they send a message to their teacher or their principal, that message is translated back to the principal or the school's preferred language. So it's very seamless, and a lot of the features that make that translation feature seamless are the same as the accessibility features. So we love Parent Square. And also just, the good news about Parent Square is now we're in our third full school year of using it. And so our staff are just, increasingly comfortable with it. More and more people are using it more and more effectively. And then the other piece, which is related to Parent Square, is that at the same time as we moved to Parent Square, we also migrated our website to Smart Sites, which is a division of Parent Square, and which similarly has all the provided websites already meet that accessibility standard and have those built-in accessibility guardrails. So what does that mean? That basically means that if I try to put text on top of an image on our website and it's not the right color and it's not readable by a screen reader, the website says, you can't do that. So that's great. And so there's a lot of features of the website already that are helping us do that. It requires alt text. It's already, visitors can already easily navigate it via keyboard. I also want to say that, so we got the new website in 2023, but this past year, 25-26, we're in the middle of a refresh of the website, which has admittedly been mostly about trying to make the websites better and have better content and be more comprehensive as a front door to our school division. But the process of that has been to remove a lot of old and moldy stuff, which just means we are not in a position of having a lot of content that's ADA problematic because we've taken all that down. We're only working with what's active, what's true and evergreen about our schools, rather than this is what we were doing in 2018 and it wasn't great. And it was great, but it doesn't need to, we don't need it on the website. Next slide. The other piece of our work completed is a tool, a Chromebook extension that all of our student and staff Chromebooks come included with, which is called Read and Write, and is an ADA compliant tool that basically that turns any digital content into an ADA, makes it ADA accessible. It reads text aloud. It highlights tools. I feel like it's very similar to a tool that, if you go to the grocery store and if you are have low vision needs and you can call that service and it basically like reads what you see on the shelf at the grocery store for you. That's like that tool, but for surfing the internet for our students. So that's already a tool that Charlottesville City Schools has. So we feel confident that a lot of our student learning and instructional needs under ADA compliance are already going to be set for that. Next slide. Okay, so what do we need to do? So we still have a lot that we need to do. So as I mentioned, we have to make sure, we have to review and gather all the materials primarily on our website that are forward facing, and make sure that they are either already are ADA compliant or we need to get them to that. So we're in the middle of that. We need to, obviously, as Pat mentioned, the work with vendors. There are some vendors who help us create public documents, and we need to ensure those are ADA compliant. The Office of Community Relations has been working on learning all the ins and outs of this, obviously, and working with Pat, and that will be the basis that will create a wider staff awareness and education around this as we approach the next school year. But I think probably the big piece is that we think that probably an outside consultant, we're going to evaluate, there are a number of organizations, as you can imagine, that are helping school divisions and local governments make this happen and make it happen smoothly, because it could it is a very big lift. And so we are going to see if there's anybody out there that could help us do this in a way that would be streamlined, that would be efficient, that would get us the results we need for accessibility, and would ensure that we don't go afoul of this law without intending to. Next slide. And okay, so next steps and looking ahead. Really, I think the main thing I want to highlight here is that when we think about the new ADA guidelines, what we want is to balance our current level of transparency with what we share on our website, what we share on our board web platform, what we share in other public ways. We want to balance that with documents that have complex needs in order to make sense to a screen reader or other ADA compliance tool, right? So we don't want to be in a position where we say, well, we can't be as transparent because it's just too hard to get this document to be ADA compliant. That's not where we want to be. So that, again, is where we think a consultant is potentially going to be supportive. And so looking ahead, we are making a map of the work, and we feel confident that we're going to get it done, but it's going to be a big lift. Thanks, everybody. Questions?
Again, I'm going to start with our board members online. Ms. Bryant, do you have any questions?
At this time, I don't presentation.
Okay, Ms. Dooley?
Nope, I'm, fully supportive of anything that makes our information more accessible to everyone. So thanks for your work on this.
Ms. Richardson?
Yes, I know you said it's going to be a big lift. Do you guys need any extra support, or how do you plan on tackling this lift? And who's all a part of the team?
Thanks, Nicole. So I think that the support that we need is, again, we're in the opening stages of figuring out, what exactly we need, but we feel confident that that we're going to look into consultants and hopefully be able to establish a relationship with an organization that will enable us to quickly take however complex a document, however complex a video we have, and that they will have the tools to just make it happen for us. And I would say that I mentioned Parent Square, and I mentioned, helping make sure that all of our Parent Square content creators are aware of how to make their pieces ADA compliant. But the most important is the team who works on the website. Currently, that is a team of one. And so we're hoping to expand that team, but making sure, because again, it goes hand in glove. Ensuring that the website is full of accurate and up-to-date information involves more people, but involving more people means you need to train more people to get it right for ADA compliance.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Craig Headway, any questions? Mr. Meyer? Ms. Burns? Ms. Cooper? No questions? So just quickly, going to come back to the consultant and then just the cost. Is this built into your budget already, or are you going to be coming back to us? Do you anticipate that?
We anticipate that we're hoping to get this sorted out in the next, during 26, 27.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We'll leave that right there. And then also was just curious, like how much lead time did the large school divisions have to start working on this?
We think we're thinking a couple of years. I think that it may have come as a surprise to some of them, though. I think that it's only really hitting large level awareness now. Here's Pat.
In my tech director meetings across the state, some of the bigger school divisions were very prepared, but there was definitely an open eye awareness when the first deadline came up. And there were a lot of people scrambling who were already past a budget space, especially for children and students, because a program like Read and Write takes a while to get and takes a while to implement. And a lot of them had gone through the budget cycle in these larger divisions. To onboard a program like that was very expensive. So they were gracious enough to tell us to watch and be ready and to take this with the 13 or 14 months that we had. And I think over this past summer, we were aware of it and started making some updates to the website to do that. So yeah, there was a little bit of a surprise, because it's such a small statement, but it's a very big lift when you think about the amount of digital media out there and the fact that it has to be compliant across the board. It's a lot of information.
So out of curiosity, is this also then, is higher ed have to fall into this as well? Yeah. I mean, intriguing. I just only, because my kiddo, when she was in schools, I mean, some of the accommodations and the things that you all are talking about, the read and write, and then we as an had to invest and purchase some of the OCR apps and things like that. And it was really challenging to get any of those to work well. To read aloud to her, or, like the columns. I mean, I used to sit there and just pull my hair out at times. So, I mean, I feel like we are ahead of the game a little bit, because these things, have been parts of and within Charlottesville City Schools to a certain extent. And then also, just knowing that a lot of those tools, you know, were beneficial and absolutely needed to kind of level the playing field for her, but will help a lot of students, right? Not just students with the IEP or the listed accommodations. So I look forward to this, and please keep us updated. So yeah, Ms. Cooper.
So I just do have a question. We do have some of these accommodations already in place, right?
Yeah, the student program that we use called Read and Write is available for all staff and all students. And if I can't speak specifically to our students with disabilities, but I told Amanda whenever, which is very rarely, if there's ever a time when it's down or not working, we get a call right away. And, you know, of course, thankfully it's 99.9% working, but it's designed for our students with special needs. But it, like Ms. Torres was saying, it's a tool that's available and is installed on every student and staff Chromebook.
Thank you both. Appreciate you. All right, and our next item is 12.3. So that's pending school closure for students and polling site locations. Ms. Powell?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gurley. You may have heard that at this time there is a vote on new congressional maps that is set for April the 21st. 8 of the Charlottesville City Schools are voting locations, and they're listed here. That's well over half of our schools. One of the schools is our school, but it's in Albemarle County. K-Tech is a polling place for the county. So on February the 25th, myself and a number of my team, we had a work session of sorts with the Office of Voter Registration and Elections. We had Taylor Yao with us and a member of her board. And we took a deep dive looking school by school at what, you know, taking the hard look at what it takes to have school on the same day as voting. And there are a number of challenges. And one of the top ones is parking. If you visit some of our schools on a normal school day, we're very limited for parking. Trailblazer and Summit, top of mind for that concern, but others as well. So that's a concern. Traffic is also a concern. Just in general, there would be an increase in vehicular traffic around our schools. And as you know, we have lots of our students who bike and walk. The fact that when there is voting, the laws that protect voter rights actually take perhaps some precedence over laws that normally come into play with our safety on normal school operations, meaning more specifically that the restrictions regarding sex offenders being able to be on campus, that does not, that cannot prevent them from polling. If we have a no trespass order on someone because of some incidents that have occurred in the past, that does not hold against their right to vote. And so our grounds are more open than they normally would be if we have voting on the same day as school. And also the campaign activities that allow, campaigners and people trying to inform the public to do what they need to do within 40 feet of the entrance and exit of every polling place. Those apply. We don't, as a school division, get to say, no, you don't get to do that just because we're having school if we were having school the same day. And then there's also just the other disruptions. There's loss of space. We have one cafeteria. We have multiple gyms that would be, not usable by our student body if we have voting on the same day that we have schools. Therefore, assuming that the redistricting referendum remains on track to happen, that vote happens on April 21st, and that is the plan and all indications that that is what is going to happen, it is in the best interests of Charlottesville City Schools and the city to help support voting and maintain our safety model and full use of our schools, that we will not have schools on that day. This presentation marks our first big announcement of this to the public. We will certainly be following this probably tomorrow. Ms. Corman will start doing targeted message blasts to our families so they can start planning. And then we'll certainly look to have additional reminders about this calendar change closer to the date. On the day, though, however, to try to be as minimally disruptive as possible, CHS athletics will proceed as normal on that day. And then the nursing board exams that are scheduled at K-Tech for that day, they will also proceed as planned. We've been working with Dr. Heltz to make sure that there won't be hiccups. There's an outside group that comes in and administers that multi-day testing. And if anything else comes forward that schools want to talk to us about that they would like to, have, we'll certainly do anything we can to minimize the disruption to our schools. But we wanted to make sure people understand this decision and the reasons behind it. Happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you for the update. We'll start down here. Ms. Cooper, do you have any questions?
No question.
Right, Ms. Burns?
I do. So if this is a first read, it would have to go back on March, or are you asking for?
It's actually just being brought forward as an information item. This decision about school closure, in fact, in many ways, this feels like a weather decision.
Okay.
It's the superintendent's decision.
So we don't have
So
to do
this is to inform the board and the public. I'm sorry, I should have made that more clear at the beginning.
Perfect. That was what I was asking. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer? Ms. Craig Headway? No? Ms. Richardson, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to say that I definitely agree that we should close the schools for voting so everyone has the ability to vote as we are protecting the voters' rights and then the safety of our students. So I definitely agree.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant?
No, I guess I actually do have a question. So I'm wondering why or like if there's any possibility for like virtual learning opportunities. I mean, that is so close to the end of the school year. And I just wonder if for like, especially for students who may have some struggles or need to, tie up some loose ends before the end of the fourth quarter, how can we optimize this day that will possibly be a school closure day?
Great question, Ms. Bryant. Thank you. Deciding whether there's a virtual option, and we've actually had this conversation as it relates to like snow days, because I know like we've had some surrounding localities that have had snow days. I think what we found is that it really becomes an equity issue when we try to do virtual, because not every student has access to Wi-Fi. And then students at the lower grades don't take home Chromebooks. And so they don't have like their own personally issued Chromebook. There's a couple of variables that would be a hard pivot for us to to try to make that happen by April the 21st. I know like during the pandemic, we did virtual, but that consisted of like we bought I think they call them MiFis, the wireless MiFi routers. So there were a lot of things that we did provide for our students through the ARP and ESSER funds, and those things just aren't available to make that day, to make a virtual instruction possible on such a pivot.
Thank you so much for that response. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, yes, I do agree with Ms. Richardson. I do think that it's important that we keep voting as a priority as well as, our learning and our students, with voter suppression happening across the country and especially in key districts. I think it's important that we put the right to exercise, that right to vote first. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're doing that. But I still have more questions, but I think I'll ask them via email or something like that because I would like to see some more creative conversation about how we handle school closures in the future. Thank you.
Ms. Dooley?
Yes, I think I echo some of the concerns just about additional lost instructional time, and would welcome the conversation that Ms. Bryant suggested about just looking forward, what we can do. I fully appreciate that the pivot to virtual was not super successful during COVID, and that's not the best solution, but what else can we consider? Since this is throughout the state, is there any conversation about, forgiveness for seat time around this lost day? How are we doing on hours, and ensuring that we're meeting the requirements?
Yes, ma'am. And so Miss Dooley and Miss Bryan, I think that's we've talked about we're doing okay with the seat time. I think this election, much like a winter storm, kind of caught us off guard, and it was, it's really one that I mean, there's very little wiggle room in our schedule. We did look at like what other days could we use to make up, and we know that it just wasn't practical at the last minute to do like taking a day from spring break. I mean, we all agree that the seat time is very important, but we do have the waivers, and we do feel like the waivers will be approved. And the thing that we have going for us that many of our surrounding localities don't have going for them is that we opened, a lot of school divisions were out for like 2 weeks with that snow creed or whatever that thing was called. But we made the choice to come back on that Monday, which really worked to our favor. So, I mean, whereas a lot of school divisions will be feeling the hit of taking that 21st off because they've missed so many days. And with us, we did not miss as many days as our colleagues in the surrounding districts. So it really worked to our favor to come back to school.
Thank you. I think just, as we continue future calendar developments, I want the board to continue thinking about, the number of contract days and how that relates to the number of student contact days. And that, we may need to add some more days into our calendar so that when we are hit by these events, whether it's weather or elections or whatever it might be, that it's more than just, I think we all know this, it's more than just hitting the requirement of seat time. We know that, time with students in the classroom matters. And so just what can we do to maximize that, knowing that every year there's probably going to be something, that comes up that requires us to close schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dooley, Ms. Bryant. Mr. Meyer, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry, one came to me, and my apologies if I missed this, but is there not the opportunity to swap the 21st April for one of the teacher work days or professional days? And sorry if you already covered that.
The teacher workday that's at the end of the month is I mean, we try to protect those teacher work days as much as possible, because that really is the reconciliation of grades for teachers, and not giving them the opportunity to get those grades done really doesn't give them, I mean, there's no other space for them to do all the things that they need to do to get the grades turned in a timely manner. Mr. Salvatore is saying.
Yeah, thank you.
Thumbs
Thank you.
up
And I
from-
think Dr. Gurley, you and Ms. Dooley, you addressed any questions I had, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is 13.0, which is the board response to written reports, which includes committee reports, our chronic absenteeism and outcome of disciplinary matters. Mr. Meyer, do you have any comments, questions?
Yeah, I'll start us off. Absenteeism report. February was a hard month. A lot was going on, so I noticed some upticks there, and it was also kind of how I think the counting gets done. But overall, I still like our trajectory, and I thank you, staff, and I would to all our parents out there, please keep focused on getting your kids to school, please. It is important, and I would love to see us drop our division by rate of not being the red, over 20% chronically absent. So looks like we're going to achieve that, but we need to finish strong here. Thank you.
Yes, I wonder if it's possible to have, I know CHS is the combined CHS plus Lugo slash night school. And I'm wondering if moving forward, we could have like the night school LMA pulled out from that so that we can see the 2024, 2025, and then has moving forward into this year, 26, look back with that pullout. I don't know, Ms. Raznik, if you, is that, and if other, I don't know. Are there other colleagues that are interested in that? I don't. Go ahead. Is that?
That's possible if
I think so, just to have, we've had this historical knowledge with all the other spaces. I think if we're asking for it, we have a good starting point. If that's not, I don't know what a lift that is, but if we could just see that number as well, as I think we're looking on a work session coming up on Black student achievement, and just I think that data point could be helpful as we move into that conversation. And just so if we could isolate it and it's not too much of a heavy lift. Okay.
we can isolate it. I think the one thing that is a little bit different is like their enrollment might change more substantially as a percent throughout the school year. And there are students that like were chronically absent like before they started attending who could, with a small n, right? It's like 45 students, like that can drastically change, but it can be, it's very easy to pull it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, board members? This was again in 13.0 board response to written reports.
No, I think I would like to also, with the work session coming up, kind of be able to understand, those numbers as well.
All right, thank you. All right, and we are now moving to our second opportunity for comments from members of the community. So if you would like to make comment, please approach the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board, and Dr. Gurley. My name is Jen Ottner. I am the parent of 2 CHS students. This is something I'm also the former PTO president for 2 years. Something I've been mulling over a long time. I have not had time to prepare comments, but I wanted to introduce to you all an issue which I find is increasingly creating a problem for my student, and I expect other students, which is I understand the results-based learning and standards-based learning model that the school has the district has undertaken. I think the granting of 50% to all students, irrespective of the work they've put into the assignment, is giving students a false sense of how they're successful in class. I also think the flexible due dates also is creating a disadvantage to our students. You know, school is not only a place to learn facts, it's a place to learn life skills. I have never worked at a place where my assignments are due whenever, or, you know, by the end of the quarter, there's a due date. And, you know, so part of that skill is teaching our students, like, this is when it's due. And if you don't do it, it's a 0. I understand that, or I believe part of the impetus behind this was not only during COVID when learning was hard, but also as a way to create some equity amongst our students and also to help the schools become accredited. But I do think there's a very specific group of students that are disadvantaged by this. I find my students creating, you know, this test, this is worth 10 points. And so if I don't do anything, I get 5. So I'm just not going to do anything, versus this is worth 20. So if I don't do it, I lose 10 points. So I better do it. You know, a calculus in their minds about whether or not an assignment is worth doing, when they're going to turn it in, if they should turn it in. And finally, I think our teachers are at a disadvantage because they can never turn the page on an assignment. So, you know, I heard Ms. Horn speak earlier. I heard Mr. Davis speak earlier. Their challenges are real. You know, asking my student to go retake a test and redo work that they really should have been prepared for, but just never did the homework, or, just didn't sign in that day, didn't come to school in their mind and sort of biffed it. I think that some students legitimately need assistance in this area. Not every student does, and there is a real population of students that I do not think are college ready. They're doing advanced degrees, and my student included does not have the skills to go to a college and turn assignments in on time. Just facts. So I would love for you to consider whether or not there's a way to change that in the future. I have a 9th grader, so she's got 3 more years here. I think there are other parents who feel similarly. I'm happy to come to you with names. I'm happy to take a list. I'm happy to talk to teachers. I know I'm only one representation of one population, certainly. But I do think it's a problem, and it's starting to really, really eat at me as I look at my students' preparedness for what's supposed to come, not just maybe college, but the workplace. I think it's a real issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here in the media center? Anybody online? Nope. Okay. We are moving on. Then we have comments from the board. Again, I will start online, and we will start with Ms. Bryant.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of comments, but I mean, I'll start with the things that I've enjoyed being a part of over the past like couple of weeks. Went to Lugo and really enjoyed the cook-off that they had to celebrate Black History Month. I enjoyed the Black History Month Walker assemblies last Friday for 5th and 6th grade. My sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, was a part of that, as well as Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. They were stepping and teaching students about like our sorority culture, and that was great. So I really enjoyed being a part of several engagements that we've had out in the community. And so February was like a really fun month, and I'm looking forward to all that March will bring. But I also wanted to just make a comment on some of the things that were brought up earlier by our public comments and by community members. And so I just was thinking about how I've brought up before and have responded to a few emails about this idea of making a procedural change to allow board member responses earlier in the board meeting to some of the comments that are brought forth, mainly because we have community members that are raising like real concerns. And I appreciate everyone who comes and speaks. And, we hear some really passionate community members, parents, educators, share their ideas and their hopes and their fears. And often we only give them a few nods and a thank you for speaking, and then we're on to the next speaker. And I think that that really crushes the morale of not just community members, but also like teachers who are coming here, who are coming after work, who are bringing forth like real concerns that are affecting their classrooms. Um, so, it's hard for me to kind of want to wait all the way to the end of the meeting when unfortunately some people have to leave. They have other things that they have to tend to. Some people may tune out offline. But I do think if we could give more timely responses, I think that that would make a real impact on the flow of our meeting, the retention of people who may come to the meetings and stay, and also just people who trust engaging with us and bringing their concerns forward. So I think that's important. Um, I also have expressed concerns about SROs in schools. I will continue to do that. I do believe that the vote was rushed when it happened before. It wasn't on the agenda. That is true. And I hope that we as a board will do our due diligence and at least discuss it further because there seems to be that concern from the community. And parents, teachers, community members have expressed to me their concerns about that. So I hope that we take it seriously. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Bryant. Ms. Richardson?
Yes. So again, I want to recognize and celebrate Coach Deaver for his commitment to our students and our community. We are truly grateful for his leadership, dedication, and lasting legacy he has brought to our schools and to our young people. I want to give a shout out to our high quality career technical programs that will roll out next school year. I'm excited about that. And then, of course, I'm going to touch on the SROs. As a Black woman, I speak from personal experience and encounters with police. No matter how careful and respectful you can be, you can still be frightened and triggered by those encounters. I continue to stand by my previous vote against bringing SROs back into our schools. I believe our students' safety can be strengthened through investing in support services and school-based staff. I also want to express my appreciation to the community members who continue to speak out and share their perspectives on this issue. And I just want to let them know that they're not alone on how they feel. And thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dooley?
I have no additional comments.
Thank you. Ms. Craghead, wait, do you have any? No? Okay, Mr. Meyer?
Thank you for all those who are tuning in online and in attendance here in person. I would second Ms. Bryant's request that we modify our agenda to be able to respond in a brief manner to public comment. I do think we can do that in a way that is efficient in our meeting while also, I think, right, giving needed feedback to people who spend time to come provide their comments to us. Regarding SROs, I do not think we need to reopen this. I have spent a lot of time in meetings over the last 2 years, listening and learning from members of the public, from our staff. I've had dozens of conversations with fellow parents and people in the community about the topic. And I've seen us evolve a program based on feedback, based on a lot of work. Again, I think we created a great committee with school board member participation and saw a lot of change in the MOU that was created that I think I understand the concerns. I've seen the data. I don't disagree with those concerns necessarily, but I do really think this MOU that we have in place and the accompanying SOPs addresses a lot of those concerns. So I'm not in favor of opening up another conversation about this. I think we voted on it. And we need to spend time and effort focusing on, I think, important educational matters related to our student achievements, not rehashing a discussion we already had. I want to acknowledge Mr. Davis's and Mrs. Warren's, I think, frustration with being micromanaged. One of the fascinating things I found of being on the school board here, and I am not a teacher, but is the amount of, I would say, bureaucracy, unfortunately, associated and micromanaging that is forced upon the profession. I don't think necessarily, if I understand this correctly, from the school board level necessarily, but a lot of it from the state level. I think it was adequately, kind of described by Mr. Davis of having to collect a lot of information that goes across and then gets sent to the state, all in the name of student achievement and results. So I want to acknowledge that frustration and concerns. I think show me where to go and who to talk to at the state level to address that, and I will be there with you. I do want to, colleagues, we are going to be starting about talking about policy, and I think this gets to a public comment here by one of them at the last here section here, but specifically not at the high school level, not the grading policy, but I am definitely open to, I think, some of those points that were brought up, but the retention policy, I do want to have that conversation. We said we were going to have that conversation last spring, and I do want to see a change for the upcoming school year. And I think a lot of us have that. Additionally, I do hope that we would also address the screens and ed tech technology issue. I know that I think that's also an issue with many of you, and I hope we can have that conversation and make some changes when we go make our policy changes here at the end of this spring. Thank you very much.
Ms. Burns.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment to share with my colleagues and the community. If you'll remember a few months ago, the theater students came and talked about SETC conference that they were going to in Tennessee and raising money for that. And I'm happy to report that funds were raised and the excuse me, the per student cost was brought down significantly so that our students could afford the trip. And so 41 of our students are there representing our community, and they were able to perform today. And I've heard that the performance was nothing short of incredible. And one judge shared that they had never seen such a strong ensemble in all their years of adjudicating performances. They also talked about the remarkable diversity of our cast. And I know many of us were able to attend West Side Story over the weekend last week. And what was really impactful for me was on the last night, several of our students who are immigrants came out with their respective flags, and they were able to represent their home countries on stage. And it was really quite moving. The audience that was in attendance that night was able to really witness our students coming together in a safe space, that they felt supported and seen, and that they were able to be themselves and represent their individual countries on the big stage in Charlottesville, Virginia, and just want to applaud their bravery for doing so. We don't live in a climate where students feel safe in our community at times. And I think it's a testament to the safety and security that we provide at Charlottesville City Schools that they were able to do that, and that they were able to be just cared for and represented and seen in that light. And so many of those students went on this trip. 6 of our CHS students have participated in college auditions, and every single one of them has been offered callbacks and are in conversations about summer theater programs at several of the colleges and universities. And I think, again, just highlighting the experiences that are extraordinary for Charlottesville City Schools and Charlottesville High School, where that talent is really nurtured and those voices are amplified, are so important that they can take that passion to the next level. And so really just thank you to Mr. Becker, Mr. Eichhorst, and Dr. Gurley, really for supporting the arts and supporting our students. I love to hear and attend all the basketball games and all the sporting events, and really appreciate everything that goes into that, and just want to, proudly display the same for our art students and just the tremendous work that goes into that department. I also want to talk about the Early Learning Center. And while I'm thrilled to see that we're going to be on track and that we're going to be moving forward, I also just want to express some disappointment and concern about how we arrived here. I've said it before, I live in the Fifeville neighborhood. I'm familiar with the property. I've been to community conversations about the future with our neighborhood association, with the University of Virginia, with the former architects that were on the project, Mitchell Matthews, and I just cannot say enough how frustrating it is to see that that property is still uncertain future. When UVA bought it, they took $22,000 annually off the tax roll, and now it just sits there. And that's money lost to the city that the University of Virginia came in and took up property, and that came off the tax roll, and I think ultimately away from our community. And so I just really want us to lean in as a board and with the city to really understand what that property could look like. If it's not going to be used for Early Learning Center, just really understand any future use for Charlottesville City Schools. And that it's important, I think, that the school board has a clear voice in those discussions. And we really haven't, because I think we were at the mercy of whatever happened between UVA and the city and how this property came about. And so I'm just hoping that that deal can be finalized, the property can really be looked at for what it is, and we can move forward with something that's thoughtful and meaningful that we have input on and the community has input on, and we hear what the needs of that community is, because I think that property is so important and could be really pivotal to the work that we're doing in Charlottesville City Schools. I hope that we're able to do that. And then again, I just want to thank everyone for the time to come out and share public comment. Teachers, I know that time shift is a little bit hard because you're able to stay after school previously and kind of jump right in. So I appreciate the teachers that extend their day even longer, and to the community members who do come. I do take all of your input under advisement and really thoughtful consideration, along with the emails and the messages that people don't see in this room. The emails that come through to us, the conversations in the pickup line and the gym and the YMCA, where all the places and spaces that we are in that people don't always see. Those conversations matter just as much as the people who show up to these meetings. And so I just want to acknowledge all of the voices that we hear from all of our community members, regardless of how they show up. And so just know those are all important to me in my decision-making process. And I do appreciate the continued engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Ms. Cooper.
I'm not gonna go be too long because I'm gonna just touch base on a few things. I want to first say congratulations to Mr. DeBerry. Mr. DeBerry has played a pivotal part in a lot of our lives. I know he was, you know, in Charlottesville City Schools when I was in Charlottesville City Schools. So I would like to say congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And just like we appreciate all of the work that you've done in our community to support, you know, families, generations of families within Charlottesville City School System. I was also too excited about the email and the parent squirrel message about the early childhood learning center that will be coming to Walker. And I look forward to learning more about that and making sure that our families are able to get what they need and be able to, get their kids signed up for preschool. What else did I want to touch base on? Yeah, and I want to thank all of everyone that came out to public comment. I want to say that I hear you, I see you, and that, when you do come up and you share, whatever it is that's on your heart, that we are listening. We may not be able to comment, but, if the will of the board is opportunity to give comment in the future, just want to know that we don't take your comments lightly, and we do hear you. And as far as like the SRO conversation, I would say I do have concerns, especially in today's climate of what is happening around the world and just kind of seeing what's going on in other places. I do have some concerns about SROs coming into our schools. And so I just appreciate everybody for bringing their concerns and their comments before us tonight. And just know that we hear you and we listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. Appreciate you all. And yeah, just to reiterate that piece, I mean, it is, it takes a lot to walk up to that podium and to share whatever it is that's on your heart and in your mind. So it is heard. and we do appreciate you taking the time and showing up. I also wanted to just congratulate and acknowledge again Coach DeBerry. I'm also very grateful that we were able to sign and finalize the collective bargaining contract for our wonderful school support professionals. Our schools do so much good for our students and our communities every day, and a lot of it we don't even see and we're not aware of. But gratitude for everybody who has an impact and makes a positive just touch or change in a student's life or in a person's life. This is what community is about. And I think we do a really good job about going above and beyond. And some of the readings that I've been doing lately, though, and I think it's important for us to remember, and this what I'm going to say next is repeated over and over within this book. But the main reason school divisions exist is to improve student outcomes and achievement. And our top priority, in my opinion, and focus needs to be on the education of our students. And I think that that is and was said in a lot of different ways tonight. And we have spent a lot of time and energy and resources on a lot of really important and heavy topics within this community. But I really feel like we need to pivot, and as a board, we need to really be looking at student outcomes. I'm really excited about our upcoming work session next week. I want to thank board members. I want to thank Ms. Bryant for your specific asks on what some of that data may look like. I want to thank Dr. Gurley and your staff for working and continuing to work to get that together to present to us. And I think that's some of the work that we as a board and as a community have been asking for. So I am looking forward to that and doing that work. And thank you. Thank you all, and enjoy the warm weather. It's a quick pivot here, so we'll see if it sticks around. But thank you. And now we will ask for Dr. Gurley's comments.
Yep. Good evening. I, I too want to just first congratulate our support staff and just recognize them just for all the hard work that they do each and every day. And in so many ways, it's the work that they do silently. I think about some of the support staff members who have been recognized recently in our royal recognition, and how they just so humbly do the work quietly behind the scenes. And so I do think that this collective bargaining agreement is in recognition of all the hard work that happens daily. I do also want to acknowledge the people who come to the podium and have their voices heard. I just want to take a second to, as this meeting was going, just processing the words of Miss Horn and Mr. Davis. And so I think everyone who knows me knows that, I like to sit down and hear from people and understand the why and what's going on. So Ms. Horn, I would love to hear from you with regards to what's getting in the way. I think that that's what I was listening to as you were talking, that it felt like there were these things that are getting in the way. And I know that this is a school year about strengthening our systems. And it's a heavy lift. And everyone's work looks differently this year. And so I know that in doing that, it may be causing some stressors. And so if we think back to the charge from the beginning of the year, it's what we call out, we can change. And so I would love for you to call it out, and that can be a part of our meeting. I heard Ms. Horn and Mr. Davis talk about spreadsheets. And so I would love to learn more about those spreadsheets. If it's a mechanism that's supporting the work that we're doing this year for Black student achievement, then it may be a non-negotiable because we are, it's really about triangulating the work of our students, looking at their strengths and weaknesses, and how do we pivot those systems. So that may not be something that we can change, but like, what's something else that we can take off of your plate? And so let's call it out. And that's one of those things that we face. And then I heard the part about micromanaging. And so I definitely want to hear, Mr. Meyer also spoke about that. And I know that there's some, things at the state level and local level, but let's also know that there's an accountability system that we're creating here among ourselves. And so are we being micromanaged, or are we holding ourselves accountable for specific actions and tasks? And so if we need to get out of your way so that you can do the job, then let's get out of the way so that you can do the job. But if we are holding people, if we're just holding people accountable just a little bit differently this school year, and if it's making people feel uncomfortable, then I think it's going to lead to some of that change that we're already seeing with our MAP data. We are seeing we are seeing a lot of increases in our student achievement this year. And I don't think that it's just happening by chance. Our teachers, you all, Ms. Horn, Mr. Davis, you're doing some great work. And it feels a little different, but I can promise you that it's looking different. And I think the things that we said we were going to do at the beginning of the year is happening. But I want to make sure, I don't want to make assumptions about what's happening. I want to hear more about it, so that if there are things that are getting in your way, then let me move them out of your way. But if there are things that I can help you with, let me help you with it. But it looks like we are on track for a very successful school year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Swift.
Yes, so one request, we're gonna take out the LMA attendance data. We'll separate that out on our attendance report.
Thank you. All right, and upcoming meetings, as I mentioned and other people have mentioned, next Wednesday, March 11th, we will be holding a school board work session, which will be starting at 5 p.m. at K-Tech. And then on March 31st, this will be our next regularly scheduled meeting. It's being held a little bit early just because of spring break. That will be held here at 6 p.m. in the Media Center.